So welcome to the webinar. We are just giving people a chance to join, and then we will start shortly.
Tak jest. Dzień dobry, witamy wszystkich Państwa na spotkaniu. Zaczekajmy jeszcze, aż wszyscy dołączą. W międzyczasie na czacie pojawiła się informacja dotycząca tłumaczenia. W momencie, w którym włączymy tłumaczenie, w Państwa opcjach pod przyciskiem więcej pojawi się taki globusik i tam jest tłumaczenie, to się chyba po polsku nazywa tłumaczenie ustne w polskiej wersji. I można sobie wybrać wersję językową. Oczywiście naszych polskich uczestników zachęcamy do wybrania języka polskiego. Zanim rozpoczniemy, oczywiście poprosimy Państwa o potwierdzenie, że tłumaczenie słychać. Okay, Hannes, so just waiting for your sign that we can start, and then I will turn on the interpretation.
Okay.
Can we?
Yeah.
Okay. So just give me a second.
So welcome to this third and final webinar in our small series. It's a part of the a collaboration project called Strategic Energy Collaboration in Poland. It's a Danish-Polish project funded by the Danish energy agencies. So this is the third one. Materials will be available on our homepage as soon as possible. And for today, we have this good program for you. We are now in the previous webinars, we've learned about the status of the markets, how different types of district heating units can become available in different electricity markets. And today we will dig into how is this done in practice? What are the practical experiences? Just an examples of how it's working in Denmark. We have a lot of time for just ask questions, ask the speakers to share, ask whatever you want to know about the practicalities.
Możecie Państwo zadawać pytania dotyczące kwestii praktycznych.
I hear things in Polish now.
This means that you have selected the Polish channel.
Okay, I will.
Oh, sorry. Let me. Przepraszam, bo coś się rozłączyło, jeśli chodzi o tłumaczenie. Proszę dać mi jeszcze sekundę. Just give me a second, please, okay?
Hanne, er du over på engelsk sprog?
Det skulle jeg være. Kan du høre mig?
Jeg kan høre dig, men jeg er ikke sikker på, at de andre kan.
Jo. Yes, we do.
Very good. So, but I think, yeah, he just asked for a minute to adjust something. So I'm just waiting for translation to be back on track.
You can continue, Hanne.
I can continue. Thank you.
Message from Maciek. Yes.
Very good. Yes. So a good program for today. Some practical examples and sharing how we're doing it in Denmark, and please ask whatever questions you want. And then at the end, to close off not just this webinar but also the entire series with an overview and focusing especially on lessons learned about strategic investment plans and how the topics from the webinars fit into also a bigger picture. So Lars, over to you.
Thank you. So here we are.
Yeah. Could you? Yeah, perfect.
Yes, good.
Thank
you. And thank you for the opportunity to give a short presentation at this webinar. My presentation here will primarily focus on how a smaller district heating company has succeeded to make this system integration not just a vision but also a part of their daily life. As mentioned, this is a program financed by the Danish Energy Agency, and the participants in the projects are DBDH, Danish Board of District Heating. Then it's the Silesian University of Technology. It's a municipality in the Copenhagen area, the municipality of Høje-Taastrup, then the Royal Danish Embassy in Warsaw, and my company Gullev DH Advisory. As mentioned, I will put focus on a smaller district heating company, but to make it interested also for participants working or involved in larger combined heat and power plants, or it could be waste to energy plants. I can mention that also the big combined heat and power plants in Denmark based on coal and natural gas in the past, and today based on sustainable biomass, they are acting at the power market, not only with producing electricity on hourly basis, but also on these special services to, for instance, ensure to keep the frequency in the power grid. So a part of the contracts between the larger combined heat and power plant and the district heating companies buying heat from this combined heat and power plant, a part of this contract is that the power plants, they can reduce the heat production if they can make a benefit or make a good business case by producing more electricity. Many of the combined heat and power plants, the larger one, they are established as condensing plants, meaning that they have a flexible production of heat and electricity. So normally they try to produce electricity and heat in the most efficient way. But if the electricity prices are attractive, they can reduce the heat production. And even in the company which I represented in the past, the Vækst District Heating Transmission Company in Copenhagen, a part of the contract we had with a huge combined heat and power plant was that they could even, with very high electricity prices, drop the heat production totally. And then we were compensated for our added cost for producing heat at heat-only boilers instead of getting the heat from the combined heat and power plant. So this flexibility, it has been a part of the daily routines in larger district heating systems in Denmark, buying heat from combined heat and power plants and waste to energy plants, been a part of our daily life during the last 10 to 15 years. So with this introduction, I will jump to the western part of Denmark, to Billund, which is a small town in Jutland with around 7,500 inhabitants. You have probably never heard about it, but I think most of you have heard about Lego and Legoland, which is an amusement park in this municipality with more than 1.5 million visitors annually. And a lot of these visitors, they are coming in by plane to Billund Airport, which has around 4 million passengers each year. But also in this town, you will find a district heating company. You can see it's a rather small one, only 13 employees, but that's what you often see in Denmark, that the companies, they don't have many employees because they buy the services they need from the market. That means that they buy duties at lawyer advice, technical advice from external suppliers. The same with construction works. They have often contracts with one or more energy consulting companies, and therefore they can keep their staff at a relative low level. The company that have an annual turnover of around 10 million euros and a debt of almost between 5 and 6 times more than the annual turnover. They supply around 1.5 million square meters with district heating to 4,200 energy meters. What's interesting is also that the district heating company in Billund is ranked among the top 30 cheapest district heating companies in Denmark. We have around 400 district heating companies in Denmark. That means that they are among the cheapest 8% of district heating companies in Denmark, even if they have made huge investments. And they have made these huge investments because in that way they have swift from low capex and high opex to high capex and low opex. The company has different sorry, that was too early. They have different kinds of technologies to ensure that they can have a flexible heat production. They have wood chips, they have straw, they have electrical boilers, they have heat pumps, they have gas engines, and they have gas boilers, and they have heat storage. So with this diversification of the production technologies, they are able to be a producer of electricity to the power grid, but they can also be a consumer to the power grid. So they can make this integration between a district heating system and the power system, which makes it possible to reduce the total production cost for district heating. Wood chips and straw, it's sourced from the neighboring area. The electrical boiler is used for, of course, heat production, but also, and you will see that later, for selling services to the power grid. The background for this transformation from a company based on fossil fuel to an electrification of the company was a structure plan which they made years ago. It was based on a master plan, then a primary project on the pipeline network, because they could face increasing heat demand in the future with new customers. At the moment, they expand the district heating system with between 5 and 10% per year. They made a stakeholder analysis, going in dialogue with the businesses in the neighborhood and the municipality to ensure that they have a close dialogue with the municipality to ensure that the climate goals and environmental goals set by the municipality, that the district heating company could support these goals. The dialogue with the business ensured that they, in a few years, will take excess heat from a factory and also use that in the district heating system. Then they focused on what would the development be, with specific focus on prices for sourcing biomass and electricity in the future, because that would be an important element in the decision how they should build up their different kind of production technologies in the future. So with this structure planned, they built into an economic assessment with a conservative approach to all figures. That's the way we try to do it in Denmark when we build up a material for decision making for investments. We try to be a little bit pessimistic about the cost and not too optimistic about the income. They also looked at the urban development in the area in close cooperation with the municipality. They focused on the rate of interest. As mentioned, the sourcing prices for fuel, biomass, wood chips, wood pellets, and electricity, the heat losses in the pipe system, and the potential reduction in the heat losses as a consequence of the renovation of the pipe system, and the operation costs. So they spent a lot of energy and a lot of time on this financial part. And what's interesting here is that none of their assumptions came through. They had to accept that they went from a rate of interest from 0.5% when they started this journey to a rate of interest now of 3.5%. So that's very important that you make this sensitivity calculations when you are preparing your final investment decision. Also, the volatility in the electricity market, it was more attractive faster than they have expected, so that's very positive. They have here in 2026 lowered their heat prices 25% on the variable cost compared to the level in 2025. And the budget for the investments, it went out to be 10 million euros cheaper than expected. So positive changes in the conditions and negative changes. So what they called for tender was this installation with air water heat pump, with an administration building, with a new transmission line to an area in the municipality, which was before supplied by a standalone installation. And you can see that time from decision to operation, it was very quick. In fact, they decided at the end of 2022 that we go for it. And it went into operation here in the last part in 2025. So that's only 3 years. So it can be a very short period from vision and decision to invest to time for operation. If we focus on the electrical boiler, and that's interesting also for you on the Polish market, is that It has been in operation, and the figures here, they are from January until September 2025. It has been in operation every month, producing heat when we have low electricity prices, or producing heat when they can make a lot of money by selling services to the power grid, even if they don't need the heat production. Therefore, it's essential that when you start to focus on, as a district heating company, to play with the power market, it's necessary that you have the possibility to store the heat if you don't need it. What's interesting at the slide to the right is that you can see in May and June, in fact, they have, due to selling a lot of services to the power grid, they have had negative production cost for heat. They have made money by producing heat. So that's the way that many Danish district heating companies make money today. That is to act as a consumer of electricity when the electricity is cheap, or selling services to the power grid when it's possible. And I'm sure that Mark will touch that point later. So if you look at the e-boiler in this power market in 2025 and looked at the first 9 months of 2025, you can see that more than 52% of the total heat production at Billund District Heating Company, it has been produced from the e-boiler. And the average price for the heat produced at this e-boiler is 0.00. So more than 50% of the heat has been free of charge to produce. It's financed by selling services to the power grid. What's also important here is you will probably look at what about the heat pump? But it went into operation after the 1st of October 2025. That's why it's not shown here. But you can see here the annual heat production, where we start with wood chips. That's the brown one, and straw is the yellow one. The green one, that's natural gas. So if you look at 2008, you can see a small amount of the heat production was based on wood chips and the primary part on natural gas. If we look at 2025, you can see from the bottom we have wood chips, then we have straw, then the yellow one, that's the e-boiler. The green one, close to the top, that's the natural gas. And then it's the heat pump, which went into operation in the last 3 months of 2025. And you can see that from 2026, it's in the budget, the primary part of the heat production will be based on the heat pump. You have 2 figures here from 2026. The last one, 2026 budget, that's where we have the realized production for the first 4 months of the year, and the last is the budget. So you can see the total heat production is estimated in the 2060 budget to be a little bit lower than it was when they made the 2060 budget. But still, the heat pump will be responsible for a huge part of the heat production. We see it here again, the production in 2025. In December, the heat pump comes in with a huge part of the production. And you have the picture for the production 2026, the realized and the budget. So when we talk about the power market, the Billund District Heating, they participate in the spot market on a daily basis. They participate in intraday, monthly, only when needed. and in the balancing services daily. And the balancing service, that's where they in fact make good business by operating the e-boiler, but it's also possible to operate on that market with the heat pump, as long as you have storage facilities for the heat, so you disconnect the connection between heat production and actual heat demand. So the balancing services with electrical boiler and heat pumps, that's when the system lacks electricity. That means that you operate the electrical boiler and heat pumps, and when the system has excess electricity, you can operate again the electrical boiler and the heat pump, and then use the heat storage. When we look at the power market and the average spot prices in that region in Jutland, that's named a DK1. We have a DK2 in the eastern part of Denmark, connected to the Swedish market. We have a profile, as you can see here, which we call the Batman profile price. We have a peak in the morning, and then we have a peak in the evening or late afternoon, meaning that you have cheap electricity during the nighttime, but also in the middle of the day. And it seems that due to that we in Denmark have more and more electricity production based on wind turbines and PV, that during the day, in the middle of the day, we already now can see that we have electricity prices close to zero. That means that we as an electricity consumer only pays the distribution cost for and VAT to get access to this cheap electricity. So with more and more electricity based on wind turbines and PV, all that production is depending on the weather. It seems that we will have the possibility to use these electrical driven technologies during nighttime, but also in the middle of the day with cheap electricity prices. So the key takeaways from this case in Billund is that they have huge fuel flexibility because they have multiple fuel types and that ensure robustness. They have electricity market flexibility because they can produce electricity. If the electricity prices are very high, then they can use the gas engines. When the electricity prices are low, they can use the heat pump and the e-boiler, and they can sell services to the power grid. And then by having the storage capacity, they have the flexibility, so they have disconnected the dependence between actual heat production and heat consumption. The consequence of that is that they have cheap heat for the customers, which makes it attractive for new customers to be connected to the net. So it's a win-win-win situation for both the power grid, for the district heating system, for the customers, and for the environment. So thank you very much. That was a quick speech.
Thank you very much, Lars. Someone have a question, then please ask it.
Hi, I have a question.
Please.
Hi, Lars. Long
Hi.
time we haven't seen each other. I have the two questions. I have the lamp here. Two questions concerning the heat price from the gas engine, because I noticed that it was the highest in the table. And the second question is why in the year 25 there was a domination of the electric boiler, and in the 26 was converted to the heat pump. The heat pump is dominating. What has changed with the electricity prices? What was the reason?
The reason for this huge production of heat from the electrical boiler in 2025 was that point one, they had no heat pump at that time. The heat pump went into operation the 1st of October 2025. We had good prices for selling services to the power grid in 2025. And the district heating company, they are a little bit conservative, so they don't want to take into the budget that 2026 would be as good for them for producing services to the power grid as it was in 2025. So it's primarily based on a conservative budget. I have an example from another district heating company where they had taken into the budget in 2025 that they should produce 5% or cover 5% of the heat production from the e-boiler, and actually they covered more than 35%. So it's very dependent on what's going on the power market.
What about the price from gas engine?
The
Why so expensive?
Yeah, it's quite expensive, and the background was that the natural gas prices, they were at that time rather high. But I can go back and show that it was only 1.1% of the total heat production was based on natural gas from the gas engine. They have already installed this gas engine years ago, and they use it today when it can make attractive gas prices, but it's most of the time primary standby.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. So now we are moving to the city of Assens to understand the diverse system and also to look into the daily operation and how it works in practice. So Mark, please.
Thank you. Just have to share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Now? Okay, here. Sure.
I think it's coming now. Yes, and then just switch to presentation mode, and then we're all set. But we see the first slide, and it looks good.
You don't see the presentation mode?
We see the presentation, but not the one where it shows the current and the next slide.
Ah, okay. Then I just stop sharing and share again.
Should be coming now. Yes, very good.
Okay. Just a moment. Okay, yes. Thank you. My name is Mark Hintze. I'm the CEO of Assens Fjernvarme. Assens, that's a smaller city on the island of Fyn. Just have to switch. Okay. Assens Fjernvarme is a cooperative established in 1960. A lot of the Danish district heating companies are actually cooperatives. And that means that we are owned by our district heating users. And we are also a non-profit company. So if we have a profit one year or a loss, it will affect on the heat price of the next year. So if we have a profit, we will lower the heat prices for the next year, and vice versa if we have a loss. At the present, we are about 4,300 district heating customers. It's mostly single-family houses. But at the end of the year, we are more than 5,000. We are connecting about 800 or 900 households this year in 2026. The prices is also pretty low in Assens. It's about 1,700 euros per year for a Danish standard house. And what is important for us is not only to have low district heating prices, we also are working to have or achieving to have stable prices. So the last 25 years, the prices has been raised about 2% per year. So that's less than the inflation in average. We have been CO2 neutral for 38 years, and that's primarily due to use of biomass. We had until 1988 we had coal and we used oil, but in 1998 we rebuilt the old coal boilers to wood pellets, and later on we built one of the first and the first combined heat and power plants based on wood chips, also biomass. The wood chips is sourced on the island here within a radius of about 50 kilometers. As you see here on, I don't know if you can see the. As you see on the photo, we have here the CHP, which is on biomass. We have a wind turbine of 1.3 megawatt, and we have a heat pump about 7 megawatt, and then we have a solar park here, a PV park of 6 megawatt peak. The yearly production is at the present about 120,000 megawatt hours, and the power production is about 35,000 megawatt hours per year. Totally, this setup, if I have to make a picture what we are producing, we can say that all of the households, the single family houses, and we have 4,300. We deliver all the district heating, which is CO2 neutral, but also the electricity for those households in amount in megawatt hours. We deliver all the electricity to the houses, and if each single house had an electric car, they could actually drive about 15,000 kilometers per year. We do not deliver the electricity directly to the houses, but just to give a picture about the amounts of production that we have here. I would like to tell about the general development of the drivers in the district heating sector. In the 50s and the 60s, a lot of district heating companies were established in Denmark. It was after the Second World War, and we had a lot of growth in the industrialization, and a lot of single family houses were built. At the same time, the district heating systems, district heating pipes and valves were developed in Denmark. So we started really to get a lot of district heating in Denmark. Also, the economy was a driver, because before that, the houses had maybe coal or oil-fired, and by making district heating, we had a collective system where it was cheaper and also more convenient to have district heating than central heating. So that was in the 60s to the 80s. From the mid-80s and 25 years ahead, There was a lot of the drivers was a lot of environmental policies and energy policies from the government, and also the technologies was more mature for district heating components, and a very important law was made in Denmark from the government, and that was that it was not more allowed just to produce heat. We were forced, the district heating companies, they had to produce combined heat and power. It was a very important and a good thing to do. At the same time, after that, from the century shift and then the next 10 years ahead, the drivers are more in terms of consolidation. It's a large-scale operation. We have a lot of mergers of smaller district heating companies which are merging, but also environmental policies and energy policies. During the 80s and 90s, we had also a lot of development in sustainable energy in Denmark. It was mainly wind turbines on land, but also the first sea wind parks in the ocean we had in the North Sea, we had in Denmark. So we got more and more wind power and also later power from the sun. The same was the picture in our neighbor countries, Sweden, Norway, Germany. So there was also built a lot of cables between the countries, because if you have sustainable energy from wind and sun, it's very unstable. In the 80s, we also started to get natural gas from the North Sea. And at that time, the natural gas was replacing a lot of the coal which was used on the big central district heating companies. So in this way, it was also possible to produce power at the district heating companies, because they had they produced combined heat and power on natural gas. In Assens, we did another choice. We didn't want to have gas, natural gas, so we decided to build this combined heat and power plant based on wood chips. And that was a very new technology in 1999 when it was built. The later years, we have seen a new driver started in 2021, where Russia attacked Ukraine. The electric prices or the energy market was very unstable. And since 2025, we can also see in the Western countries that there's a lot of instability, which we can see also in the energy market. So we also reacting on that, looking more at how can we secure ourselves and be able to make the energy in Denmark and be less dependent on foreign countries. As I said, when in the 90s, when we got a lot of wind at the first time, and later also sun, there was a big paradigm shift in the power market. What you see on the curve here, the red curve, it's 14 days of typical Danish power production and consumption. The red line is 14 days of power consumption. You see it's high in the daytime and low in the nighttime. The blue curve is the wind production of the same 2 weeks. Sometimes you see we have more wind. It's above the consumption curve, so we produce more power on wind than the consumption. And other times we have a very low production of electricity by wind and sun, as for instance here. It's much lower than the consumption. So the solution is not just to build more solar parks and more wind turbines to get this point up to the consumption, the production, because then we will have another problem with a very big surplus in the production when there's a lot of wind. So the issue is, it's for the electric system is always to have the same production and consumption. It should be equal, because if not, we will change the frequency in the electric grid. Before, in the 70s and the 80s, we didn't have so much wind and sun, so the prices, the spot prices, and the market was very stable. But in terms of when we got more wind, it was more unstable, and also the spot prices were unstable. 10 years ago, we decided, or we make some thoughts about how can we actually use this instability for a business case. And the answer was that if sometimes the production is very high and higher than the consumption, and that effect in low prices, and also the power market reacts by having some grid balancing services, as Lars mentioned before, so that the green curve here, you see down here, is the spot price from the day-ahead market. And if there's too little electricity production in the grid, the market reacts by upregulation. And if the spot price in average is, for instance, 30 euro per megawatt hour, then the upregulation prices is maybe 10 times higher, as you see here. So if you are able to deliver electricity when the blue curves here, when we have upregulation, you can earn some money there. Otherwise, sometimes the production is much higher than the consumption, and then we see the yellow curve here. It's down regulation in the balancing service, so we can get a lower price than the spot price if we are able to take some of or consume some of the electricity. As said, we thought, how can we make this as a business model to produce electricity when the prices are high, and consume electricity when the prices are low or even negative. And if the prices are not high or low, the third possibility, if the prices are between high and low, how can we then use the electricity by ourselves? And the answer is really simple. You see it here on this diagram. We had the CHP, the biomass combined heat and power plant, where we can produce 15 megawatt of heat and 5 megawatt of electricity. Then 10 years ago, we bought this wind turbine of 1.3 megawatt, and we built 2 years later this photovoltaic park of 6 megawatt. So if it's with this production, we are able to deliver 12 megawatt electricity to the power grid, to the power market. And we will do that if the electric spot prices are high. If the spot prices are low or even negative, we're able to buy or consume 18 megawatt from the power from the grid, and we can put that into a 16 megawatt electric boiler, and this way produce about 16 megawatt of heat to an accumulation tank. And we can take some of by low prices, some of the electricity and put into electric heat pump, which use 2.3 megawatt of electricity, and then we will get about 8 megawatt of heat. Also, we can store it in the accumulation tank. If it's very cold or if we have a breakdown, we can we have 3 wood pellet boilers. It's the old coal boilers that we rebuilt in 1988, and we can start them and then have about 18 megawatt of heat out here. So totally we can produce 57 megawatt. Megawatt heat. If the prices are not high or low, but in between, we can take the electricity from the CHP, from wind turbine, or from the solar cells and put into the heat pump and use our own electricity. So we have designed the system so that from May to September, we are able to use the electricity from the wind turbine and the solar park and the heat pump to deliver all the district heat, all the heating for the customers from May to September. We don't have to use any biomass. But if the prices, the spot prices are very high, we actually sell the electricity from the wind turbine and from the solar cell, start up the CHP, and we will sell the electricity to the power market and get the heat from the CHP. This way we have a good economy because of the income from the electric market. This is very simple because all the components here, the CHP, the wind turbine, and the PV, the solar park, it's plant. You can, it's no new technology, it's old technology. The new is that we have connected it in a sector-coupled system where we can sell electricity, buy electricity, and we can use our own electricity. The complexity is how to run, to make the operation, how to run this system, because that's the very complex thing. And we can't, our brains here in Assens isn't big enough or great enough to make the calculations or the decision how to run the system. So we had a cooperation with a company called EMD. They have developed a piece of software where we can simulate 5 days ahead or 7 days ahead the production. And it functions in this way that we get several times each hour, we get 5 prognoses for the next week. We get a wind prognosis, a sun prognosis, a temperature prognosis, and a district heating prognosis, and a spot price prognosis. And with those 5 prognoses, the system calculates how we should run the plant. And what you see here on the slide is the power production here first. 5 days ahead. The dark green area here is the plan for, it says that the CHP should produce electricity in this amount 1 day ahead. The light green is the wind turbine, and the red curves is electric production from the solar cells. You see, the solar cells comes every day during the week. Here we have the light green, very little wind, and here we have more wind. So that's the plan 5 days ahead due to the electric production. As you see here, there's a blue line, and if it's a line, it's not a production but a consumption. It's a consumption of the heat pump. And why? We ask ourselves, why is the CHP not in operation? And why is it the heat pump? We can see it up here on the spot prices. Here we had some high spot prices here. Here we have low spot prices. So the high prices, spot prices, we produce by CHP, wind and sun, and by low spot prices, we consume electricity by the heat pump. And mainly, or about 50% of it is produced by ourselves. Here in the white spots, we don't have electricity enough by ourselves, so we will buy it from the grid. Then here you see the spot prices go higher, and we will again produce with the CHP here and here. But the most important thing is to deliver district heating for our customers, our owners. So that's the main plan. And here you see on this curve how the heat is produced during those 5 days. It's mainly here, it's dark green, it's the CHP, then it's produced by the heat pump, and then CHP again and again. Here we don't produce anything because, as you see down here, we have a storage tank which is unloaded, and then we load it here with the CHP, and then unloading and load again. So the accumulation tanks or storage tank are very important to this, to operate a sector-coupled system like this. And you see, when we are not producing, it's because the spot prices are low. So it's actually the spot prices which is in a very high degree defines how to produce. If one of the 5 prognosis changes, then there will be made a new calculation, and that will actually happens several times every day. That's not the wind, as the prognosis says, or sun, or our customers uses less heat than we had expected. Then everything is recalculated, and we will have a new picture. So when we go home from work every day and come next morning, we will have a new picture here. So it's a very dynamic system. And this system or this software actually runs the whole operation here. The software, we don't have, the control room is unmanned here. So it's the software which is starting and stopping the heat pump and the electric boiler or the CHP. Only one time a day we have to take some decision, and it's when the software make a plan for the spot market for the next 24 hours. We are looking the suggestion through, and we accept the bids and then send them. After this, the software runs the whole plant here. If you look up here, you can see it's maybe difficult, but here we see the netto, the marginal price, the production price of the heat. If this plan holds as it's planned, we are able to produce at about 14 kroner per megawatt hours. It's about €2 per megawatt hour. That's very low, but that's due to the relative high price level of the spot prices. On this slide, you see even higher relative spot prices. Here, in average, the spot price is maybe about €120 or something, and they're very stable. So what you see here, the electric production is made by solar cells, the CHP, some wind. There's a very little wind, and if we have little wind in Denmark, we have high spot prices. So the electric production comes from the CHP and the sun mainly, and is sold. The heat production, this is in the summertime, so or in in September actually. So the heat is produced in those blocks as you see here, and down here you see the storage tank. In this case here, the production price was about 160 kroner. That's 22 euro in this amount, minus 22 euro. The price is minus 160 Danish kroner. That's about a minus 22 euro per megawatt hour. So as Lars Gullev also told, the electric market is in a very high degree defining the production of district heating in Denmark. And it's even more. We made this system 10 years ago, and there has been made a lot of changes in the electric market also, or in particular on the balancing services. At last, I've made some recommendations and some experiences that we had. What we have experienced in Denmark is that more wind and more solar means that the prices on the spot market, the electric market, is fluctuating more than ever. Of course, it will be. It's a question about that we as a nation is being better to make production and consumption more equal. But it's always difficult. Sometimes there's too much production and sometimes too much consumption. Another recommendation or experience is that district heating companies, we can benefit from the low electricity prices using electric boilers or large heat pump consumption of electricity. And if the high prices are there, and they are there, photovoltaic park, wind turbines is a good answer of the question. And very essential is that we have a storage tanks. And storage tanks, it's quite cheap to establish. And we are able to store the heat when the prices are attractive. Either if the production price is low because of high spot prices, or low spot prices, we can consume the electricity. Also, what we have seen in the later years is that we have a lot of solar parks in Denmark. So every day during from April, May until September, October, the spot prices are more or less zero every day. And by using the accumulation tanks or batteries is also getting more is under consideration also by us. You can actually move those very low prices and to a later moment where you can use the energy and lower the cost of the district heating.
Mark, sorry to interrupt. It's very good. I know it's almost at the end, but I just want to have time for a quick question before we go to the last speaker. So be quick, then you get to ask your question.
I have a question, if I can ask.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us what is the price for contracted capacity in case of this e-boiler?
You actually bid it in every day. It changes every day, and there's different services.
We would like to ask about fixed price in case of ordering power for electric boiler.
Yeah, because we have to order the power, and I assume that this is the fixed price that you pay no matter the day, and like it's like a constant price, or it works the other way in Denmark than in Poland.
No, it changes during every hour.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the spot price.
Okay.
And the balancing. So you can, of course, you can buy in electricity on the intraday or on the day ahead market. But it changes every 15 minutes. It changes.
Okay, but you're saying about electricity price, but you have to order the capacity for the electric boiler.
Somebody built connection to the grid for your boiler, and you have to pay them for building that cable.
So it's the connection fee to connect the boiler to the grid.
All fixed cost of ordering power for your electric boiler.
No matter the consumption.
No matter the consumption, yeah.
It's about 1,000 kroner per ampere.
Ampere.
Yeah.
Okay.
And is it variable or fixed?
Yes, but
it's one time. When you are connected, you pay this. But then when using the electricity, there's also a cost, and it's different because you can be connected in different places in the grid on 10 kilovolt, on 30 or 50 kilovolt or 60 kilovolt. It's depending where you are connected in the grid.
Yeah.
And I count the prices here and here now.
Okay, but in your case, you are connected to what voltage?
The e-boiler is on 60 kilovolt, and the heat pump is on 10.
Okay. And you pay 1,000 kronas per ampere.
Yeah, that's one time. When you get the cable first time, it's about 1,000 kroner per ampere.
But this is connection. Okay. Then you order capacity. For example, for a month or for a day or for a week. I don't know how frequently you order. So the price is different then, yes? For every order, the price is different.
But Mark,
actually, if you take if I take 10 megawatt from the grid, I have to, the next 10 months, I will have to pay for this capacity.
Okay, so it's fixed for 10 months, so you can change it every 10 months.
No, you can if I use just 1 hour or 10 hours, 10 megawatts now, then I have to pay this capacity the next 10 months. But if I tomorrow take 15 megawatts, then they make a new calculation. Then it's from tomorrow and 10 months ahead, but 15 megawatt of capacity. And then if I the next 10 months only use 1 megawatt, I still have to pay the capacity of 15.
Yeah.
And what's the price of that constant fee? Because it's very interesting. It's constant in a whole year. Doesn't matter what hour, yeah?
Yes.
What's the price?
It's set by the terms of the DSO, the levels, the prices, and so on. So it varies from each DSO system to another what exactly the price is. But DSO's prices are available on the DSO homepages. Okay. So I'm gonna park it for now, and then say thank you, Mark, and hand over to Jacek. So please share your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But Mark is sharing. Okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, it's coming. Very good. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jacek Kalina. I'm from Silesian University of Technology. And I will present some lessons that we have learned in the SETHEAT project, which we are almost finishing. This was a LIFE program co-founded project on strategic planning in district heating. So the agenda is very short. I'll just say a couple of words about the ZHeat project, then short introduction, some review of Polish district heating sector, then key lessons learned and conclusions. So the ZHeat project was co-founded by European Union, and it was focused on strategic planning in district heating and actually on decarbonization and transition of district heating into more climate neutral. So it was focused on shift from fossil fuels to low temperature renewable and waste heat sources. So this picture shows the goal. So we want to change the red picture into green one. So go from fossil fuel based heat generation to integrated system where everything is connected and everything is green. Of course, the drivers are political and regulatory. So we have EED directive, RED III directive, EU ETS reformed, EPBD directive on buildings, and then more regulations are still coming. So we see that the legal environment for the transition is changing, and this is one of the risks. Of course, it's not easy, as you see in this picture. There are a lot of documents that need to be processed to understand what is expected. And this is Polish district heating system. So I have made a sort of market review. So in total in Poland, we have around 500 district heating systems of the capacity more than 1 megawatt production capacity. And what you see in this picture, this is installed production capacity. So the first is Warsaw. So Warsaw has installed like 5 gigawatts. So it extends the axis. But then we have some larger cities, then we have smaller cities, and then very small that you cannot even see. But the total installed capacity is 52 gigawatts around. And then if we assume full decarbonization by electrification by 2050, and we just take a big figure of 85,000 euro per megawatt, this is from current experience in different projects, then we are speaking about 190 billion euro to be, Polish zloty to be invested in Poland. And everything is changing. So the entire system is changing, and we are especially looking into electricity market, what changes are appearing there. And if you see, Poland is now mostly investing in solar PV. So from 2023 to 2055, you have growth of installed capacity. Coal, you have almost constant capacity. So we mainly keep these units because we don't know the future. We don't know if the nuclear will be final built or not. And we are developing several projects. Then we have until 2025 onshore wind as the second renewable, the second main renewable source of electricity. And now there are several projects under development regarding offshore wind. So Poland will soon have offshore wind generation. But if we look at this picture, this is a 2025 share of renewable energy generation electricity production. We are at the level of 29%, while Denmark is at the level of 78%. So this is global annual picture. So you see we are in different position, and this shows that we cannot adopt every solution from Denmark. Our solutions must be tailor-made and let's say planned for our reality. And if we see electricity prices, so this is comparison 2025, 2024, and we see actually electricity price has grown. So we from 2022 until 2024, we observe decrease in electricity prices, and then in 2025 increase. And the number of hours with negative prices is not very high. Of course, the lowest price is going down. Still in 2026, it goes still down, but the number of hours is not significant. The same on this part of the axis. So what district heating companies are planning in this situation? We've made several interviews and surveys, and we've found out that mostly cogeneration is now the top business, top investment project, and then tanks. So companies are very interested in daily storage tanks. Then companies are considering water source heat pumps, solar thermal. Some companies consider seasonal storage. This picture shows that no one at the moment considers coal as fuel for the future. So then combined cycles, although there are several under construction at the moment, but only in big systems, and mainly the projects are driven by electricity production companies. So in district heating, combined cycles have not been reported. Biomass gasification, there were some projects previously on this, but now no one considers biomass gasification as a source. And then minor projects. So let's have a look on the situation in investment environment. So at the moment, the CHP is peaking. So we have around 60-90 gas-fired cogeneration projects either under development or in implementation phase. Only one company that I interviewed last week has 35 orders. There are several combined cycle plants under development or under construction. National Fund expects, this is main funding source in Poland in district heating, National Fund for Environmental Protection and Water Management. They anticipate around 130 new high efficiency cogeneration by 2030. And this is very important figure because if you order gas engine now, you will wait 2 years to get it on site. And if you order gas turbine, you will wait 6 years to get it on site, because our district heating is competing with data centers in United States. So most of the engines nowadays go to states for artificial intelligence development, data centers, and this stuff. So when we look into heat pumps, large heat pumps, so with a capacity over 1 megawatt, so we have several big projects that are, let's say, under planning or construction or already implemented. So the biggest one is in Warsaw. They plan 120 megawatts there, and this is sewage treatment plant Czajka. So this will be huge installation. Then we have Żerań. So this is again a project on some water flows, 50 megawatt. Then we have again Warsaw, and then we have Krakow, Gdańsk. So projects like in Gliwice, 12 megawatts. This is under construction. So you see the picture of this sewage treatment plant, and the heat pump will be here. So this is the size. And this is after tender, and just project is starting. So probably in 3 years or 2 years, the heat pump will be in this place. But if you see the previous number with 500 district heating systems, and you see this number with just several projects, or this table with several projects, you see that we are just starting the new path. There are many smaller projects. So in many district heating companies, such heat pumps are considered or installed mainly for learning purposes. So these are heat pumps of around 100 to 500 kilowatts. So there is a number of such projects in Poland as well. In Opole, first large project for waste heat recovery from cement plant was signed, and now the installation is being planned. So I think in 1-2 years, the cement plant will deliver heat. There are condensation of exhaust gases. These projects, wherever biomass is considered as a fuel or already exists, they plan condensation and waste heat recovery. So this is project from Warsaw. So ETSO is front runner in electric boilers. In several district heating companies, electric boilers are being considered. Also in Gliwice. So this is Gliwice district heating. As you see, solar plant is being built. So this is picture from almost today from the drone. So you see half of the solar plant is built and this entire area will be covered, and this will be 12 megawatts. So first big solar project. This is still coal-fired plant in there, but by 2030, most of this, including these big chimneys, will be dismantled and new equipment will be placed here. So some will be shifted to gas, some will be shifted to heat pumps, etc. This is project in Warsaw, the largest in Europe storage tank. It's under construction, 61,000 cubic meters. In several places, seasonal storage is considered. So we are actually on the path to the transition, but we are at the beginning. The most important is the availability of heat sources. We made in the project several heat mapping in several cities, and we see that there are not sufficient resources for full energy transition to carbon neutrality in 2050. We need to tailor clever solutions because based on water sources, waste heat, etc., we can cover, like in Opole, around 30% of annual production. So what next? The EED directive expects us to have only renewable heat and waste heat by 2050 in the district heating system. So this is big unknown. For sure, we observe that there will be a new district heating model soon, model that can be called heat harvesting. So it means we can catch heat wherever it is available. This is example of one of the studies we made for Opole. So you see in here picture with 16 heat sources. So at the moment we have one. This is central heat source here. All these sources are completely or will be completely new. The same situation we have, for example, in Gliwice. There will be 14 heat sources by 2035. And we observe, of course, that storage is essential component of such distributed systems. But let's have a look on economics of the transition. So if we take prices from 2025, at the moment, everything is very dynamic regarding prices of energy and electricity. If we take prices that appeared in 2025 into the model and we see Opole system, so these plants here are existing. So we have coal boilers, gas boilers, coal CHP, gas CHP. So we have portfolio of fossil fuel generation. And then we have new projects. So several projects distributed over the system in different places. So you have air source heat pumps, water source heat pump, etc., etc. So cement plant, some waste heat recovery projects. And this is the reference case. So if you calculate costs, so your costs in 2024, this existing portfolio is 36 million, and net cash flow from operation, because you have also revenues, is 11 million. And then if you take this new system but optimized regarding costs, so similar to previous presentation, you try to keep minimum heat production cost, then you land at 39 million. So your net cash flow, including revenues, is minus 13. So your net operating effect is €1 million minus €1.5 million. But if you want in 2035 fulfill the EED requirements, then you need to push some units. Even the prices are not so favorable. You need to push units to produce renewable heat. Then you end up with 42 million costs, and your net effect is minus 10 million. So you see that this is only the operational effect without the investment cost. So this is what is required. These figures should be at least with plus, not minus at the beginning. And we observed that if carbon prices in the ETS system are at the level of 160 euro per ton, then this picture changes. But we are now at the level of 75 euro per ton. So the key driver that the European Union designed for this transition is not actually working properly. So most scenarios that we considered have negative net present values without public support. So public support is a must at the moment. Then electricity and CO2 prices are importance. There are required some new funding structures like grants, guarantees, blended finance, etc. New business models and value stacking are required. So this is what you have in Denmark. So you are earning money on different markets. In Poland, it has to be developed. So companies must develop business models like the one in the previous presentation. And the risk of social unacceptability of tariff increase at the moment is quite high. So what strategic risks should be addressed in Poland? First of all, regulatory uncertainty. Our Polish law is not ready for transition. This year, there will be the main act on energy, let's say, renewed. There will be several other acts established. So there is huge work that is going on preparing the regulatory environment. But as for now, the regulatory environment is not fully ready.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, there's 1 minute left.
1 minute. Okay. So as you see, the list is quite long. So I will not go through these points. You will have this presentation later. There are several trade-offs, like, for example, what should we look at? Decarbonization or cost to consumers, system flexibility or operational complexity, electrification or dependence on electric energy market. Then the last one, business value or social value. What do we want? And then conclusions. So just 5 bullet points. So decarbonization technically is not a problem. At the moment in Poland, the barriers are elsewhere. So regulatory, financial, organizational, and socioeconomic. This environment must improve. Then some companies are triggering long-term investment roadmaps, but only the big ones. So smaller companies in the number of around 300, I would say, are just in waiting position. Then we see that flexibility, resilience, sector coupling are critical. But as for today, hardly any distributing company knows how to monetize them, how to make benefits, financial benefits out of this new functionalities. Municipalities and district operators still need planning skills and, of course, tools like the one that was previously presented. Almost no district heating company in Poland is using such software at the moment. Many plants are manually operated. So this is the real picture. Then competences in regulation, finance, etc., should be transferred to the district heating sector. And of course, the final one is that continuous knowledge transfer is highly required. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacek. Thank you very much. And and we will share the presentations afterwards. So thank you to all three speakers. And for just the final remark of this webinar series, Lesja, I hand over to you and share my screen. Lesja? Well, interrupt me if maybe that's a technical problem. I would just say we have a long history and believe very strongly in the Polish-Danish collaboration. We have R&D projects and sort of collaboration projects running with DBDH involvement, and we are always looking for more collaboration. Also, just as an example, included 4 examples just from the last year. Of ways that we collaborate between the Danish and the Polish district heating sectors. So thank you all for participating, and we hope to talk and discuss and collaborate with you more in the future. So thank you for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hanne, may I have a question?
Yes.
Yeah. I asked you by email to send me the recorded seminar, the second, the last one, let's say, the seminar. This is the third. I am missing the second, and I have received the slides, but if it is possible to see a recorded seminar, would be good.
Yeah, just one moment. Am I still sharing my screen or something? Or just have to figure out what to do here. Sorry, one moment. Yeah, I don't know if I'm still sharing it. Also, it doesn't matter. We will. There's something happened with that. So we will share the presentations and the recordings. I will try and figure out what happened, but we intend to share it. And I'm sorry for the delay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you very much. It was a very interesting initiative, and I hope it will be continue.
I hope so too. Yeah.
Również taką mamy nadzieję. Dziękuję.
Thank you. Bye.
Dziękuję. Do widzenia.